Hi everyone, I'm Clem and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about books that surprised me. And this video is actually going to be divided into parts. So the first part, I'm going to talk about books that surprised me in a way that I didn't expected to like them as much. And in the end of the video, I will talk about 3 books that surprised me because of what's inside them and maybe some plot twist. So it might be like not a spoiler free end of the video, but that's why I'm putting it at the end so you can still watch the first part and the main part of this video. So let's start with the books that surprised me. The first book I'm going to talk about is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. So I bought this book one day when I was at my bookstore and I was with my best friends and I wanted to buy a book. So I saw this one and I read like the synopsis and I was intrigued and I thought it could be cute, and it used to be a time when I was a sucker for cheesy romance and it looked like this, so I picked it up and it stayed on my shelf for almost a year. And in December I had this readathon and I needed to read a book, I don't know, but I picked this book for this readathon and it was an amazing surprise. I remember reading it and thinking that this book was amazing. Of course, it's super sad. If you've seen the movie or if you've read the book, you know it's super sad. I cried and I don't cry a lot while reading books. So this was really a surprise also because it made me cry. And so if this book managed to make me cry, it's a good book. Like, it was really amazing and well written, and the 2 characters, Violet and Nick, is it Nick? No, Finch, sorry, are really amazing, and their relationship is really great because like they support each other throughout the hard time they're going through, even though like it's maybe not be working for both of them. But I was really surprised with this book and how it turned up. So yeah, it was really a beautiful book. I really enjoyed it and I could reread it, like, I feel like, but I don't want to be sad, so I'm not going to reread it. And I've seen the movie and I cried, so that's enough for me, I think. So the second book I'm going to mention is actually a duology. It's the duology The Wrath and the Dawn by Renia Dige, and more specifically the first book, The Wrath and the Dawn. So this series came out a while ago, like really I feel like it was at the beginning of my booktube, and I've been on booktube for like 4 years now. So everyone was talking about it and everyone was reading it, but I wasn't interested in it. Like, I don't know, I had never really actually read what it was about. I just knew it was about like the Thousand Nights, like the Arabian Tales, but I've never read what it was about. And last year, my 2 best friends read it and they loved it like a while ago, and they kept talking about it, and I was tired of hearing them talk about something, and actually when they talked about it, it sounded amazing, so I decided to give it a go and I read it last summer. And well, I fell in love with this duology. It was actually surprisingly good. Like, the characters are amazing. Shazrad and the Caliph, like, they're my OTP. Ooh, long time. It's been a long time since I used the word OTP. Still. And I love them together. Also, the world building is amazing because you're really thrown into this Arabian country. I don't remember which one it is, but like, while I was reading it, I was really into the scene and I could picture everything so perfectly. I wanted to be with Shazrad, actually, no, because she's going through some hard times, but still, and the romance in this book is just amazing, and you also have all the political issues and all the things that have to do with magic that are coming in the second one. And I think Renia Dige did an amazing job because she managed to mix the Arabian Tales, like a Thousand Nights, and some romance and actually political stuff. For me, it is amazingly done, and I'm in love with those books. I could read them again every time, but I don't have them. Maybe I'm going to buy them, who knows. So yeah, it really surprised me in a good way because I didn't expect it to like it as much. Now, I never thought I would mention this book, okay? But on my list of books that surprised me because they were actually good, and I never thought they were going to be that good and that I was going to like them that much, we have Shadow and Bones. Okay, so this is like Ruin and Rising, and I haven't read it yet, but I've read the first two, so Siege and Storm and Shadow and Bone, and it's the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So, my story with Leigh Bardugo is a bit weird. So, as I just told you, I've been on BookTube since 2016, and I've seen so many people reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy and loving it, and I was not into it. I thought it was going to be bullshit. I didn't like the cover, and like it wasn't my thing. Then I've read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and I loved it. And since I didn't have to read Shadow and Bone trilogy to read Six of Crows, I said, okay, amazing, I don't have to read this thing that I don't want to read. But now King of Scars exists, and in order to read King of Scars, you have to read the Grishaverse, like the Grisha trilogy. And it's painful because I really want to read King of Scars, but I didn't want to read those books. But my best friend read it, she loved it. No, she loved it, she like meh about it. My other best friend read it and she said it was good. So I decided one day to pick it up because I really wanted to read King of Scars. And I read it and I fell in love with it. Like, I'm not saying it's one of my favorite series because it's not, but it's really something that's really enjoyable and actually not that bad. Okay, the characters are dysfunctional. Mal is a piece of shit. I hate him. I want to slap him every time he's on the page. But for the rest, it's actually real good. Like, the world building is amazing. I want to be a Grisha so bad. Alina is not that bothering. Like, she's okay. The Darkling is my new king, so I love him so much, and I know the story is well built, and actually it's Leigh Bardugo, and I love what Leigh Bardugo is doing, so I feel like I should have trust myself and trust Leigh Bardugo that this book was going to be good. So yeah, it was a really amazing surprise, and I'm so happy that I read it and that I like it. And last but not least, in this category, I need to talk about All the Crooked Sins by Maggie Stiefvater. I've read The Raven Cycle, okay? I love it, it's amazing. And it's the only thing I've read from Maggie Stiefvater. And let's say that we have to agree with everyone that The Raven Cycle is a very peculiar series because it's magical realism and it's something, personally, I don't read much. So for me, I've always associated Maggie Stiefvater with a weird kind of books. Like, for me, they're like, you can't classify them in a category because they're so unique. And so when she published All the Crooked Sins like 2 years ago, I didn't know what it was about. I just knew it had something to do with saints and like they were going to cure people with their like religious power, and that's all I knew. And I read it one day, and actually this book is even better than The Raven Cycle. It's a standalone, and you're following those 3 or 4 kids, and they're like saints, and they are living in this house, and they have to cure people like sinners and everything. And I don't know, it was so whimsical and unique. I loved every second of this book. Nothing's really happening in a way that the characters are going through their own problems and their own crisis, like life crisis. For one of them, it's really a life crisis. But it's something that could happen in life. But she had this pinch of magic and of supernatural elements that is just magical and makes the book so unique and so perfect. It might be one of my favorite books. Like, I should read it soon because I have a very good opinion on this book, and I want to read it to be sure that it was that amazing. But I didn't expect it to be that, or to be that good, because I was going in this book with some apprehensions because of the Raven cycle. But this book is a gem and I love it, and I'm not sure a lot of people actually read it, and it's really amazing. Like it's I love it so much. Okay, now moving on to the books that surprised me for what's inside, okay? So I'm not necessarily talking about plot twists, so it's not necessarily spoilers, like, but still, for two of them actually it's spoilers. But the first one I'm going to talk about is just something I didn't expect in the book, okay? So if you haven't read any of this book and you don't want to know anything about those books, then I will see you next time. But yeah, if you want, or if you've read them, stay with me and I'm going to tell you what I think. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. So if you don't know what this book is about, you're following, what's his name again? Monty, and Monty is going on a road trip. Actually, it's in the 18th century, so it's not a road trip, but in a trip throughout Europe with his best friend and actually crush and his sister. So they're traveling throughout Europe. Of course, there are problems, like many problems, and they end up at one point in Spain. And so far the book was normal. I thought it was a contemporary, like a road trip book, but set in the 18th century. But no, once they arrive in Spain, the books take another path, and I didn't saw that coming, okay? In this book, there is actually magic and arithmancy and all this stuff and alchemy. And I was like, okay, I didn't saw that coming at all. It was really a huge surprise because, as I told you from the beginning, I thought it was just like a contemporary, like no magic, no anything, like just real life. And no, they arrive and they have to go search for this golden heart that's supposed to give you eternal life. I think it's eternal life, but actually this heart has power and everyone is fighting for this heart. And I was like, what am I reading? I don't know, like I was lost, but at the same time I liked it. So this was really a surprise, because when you read about it, you have no clue that the book is going to go that way, but it was amazing. So yeah, it was weird, but really enjoyable. Okay, now we're going to enter the real spoiler section, and I'm going to talk about two books, and if you haven't read them, then I advise you to go away if you don't want to get spoiled. The book I'm going to mention, and it's going to be a spoiler, I warn you, okay? It's Paper Girl Volume 1. So, I've been wanting to read this book for a long time, okay? A real long time, because a lot of people have been reading it, like for the past years. I don't know when it came out, but like for some times. And my best friend read it and she loved it. So, I decided to buy it and to finally read it. And I knew it was said to be for Stranger Things fans, and I should have seen what I'm going to talk about coming, because if it's for Stranger Things fan, then you know some weird stuff and supernatural stuff are going to happen. So now it's a spoiler. At the end, the girls are time traveling and they're going in the future, and one of the girl is meeting her future self. And I didn't see that coming. Like, okay, you see this machine, like this time machine, at the first time in the volume, so you can guess that they're going to time travel, but I didn't expect it to be like at the end of the first book, and especially that they were going to meet one of her future self. So it was really surprising, and actually, you see, it's literally the last page. Like, this is the last page and you're like, no, this is me, and you're like, okay, I need to buy the rest because I want to know what's going to happen next. And I just thought it was going to be like more like a murder mystery than a fantasy supernatural stuff or sci-fi stuff, but throughout the books you have so many weird things that are happening. At one point you have a dinosaur. The moment I saw the dinosaur, I was like, okay, this book is really weird and not at all what I thought it was going to be, but in a good way, because this book is amazing and I need to read the rest. But I didn't saw that coming. Like, I'm not dumb, okay? But I didn't thought this was going to happen like that and at that time. So yeah, really big surprise. And the last book of this video will be Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. So this is the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and it's my favorite, okay, of all of them. I've read just the first 3 books. I haven't read the new series, but still, it's not the point. So, this book is my favorite because of what's happening at the end and what really surprised me. So in this book, you're following Jacob, and Jacob ran away with the Peculiar's children because, like, some troubles in the first book. And so they have to go from loops to loops in order not to die. And still, but they're being followed by the monsters. I read this book in French, so I don't remember the name of the monsters in English, but they're following by those monsters. And so you discover 2 amazing things at the end, and I was shocked, okay? The first one, you discover that the bad guy is actually the brother of Miss Peregrine. And this revelation left me like without any words. Like, I was so shocked, and I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. This is amazing. Like, hidden brother. I don't like hidden brother stuff usually, but here it's well done and it's like believable. So I loved it so much. So you have this revelation and you have like 50 pages left, and you're like, no, not even 50 pages, maybe 20. And you're like, okay, what's left? And so the books continue, and like the last 2 pages, you discover that Jacob can control the monsters. And here, let me tell you that I couldn't believe it. It was such a surprise. I didn't expect that at all. And it's the end of the book, so you want to read the 3rd one, because of course you want to know what Jacob is going to do with the monsters. But I can remember the scene. He's here in the tube station, and he says like, walk or stop or talk, and the monsters stop, and you're like, oh my gosh, he can control them. I was so shocked because I never thought this to be possible, but actually it is, and Ransom Riggs did it. And actually it leaves so many questions for the rest of the story, because you're like, is it going to be useful? How they're going to use it? And I mean, the 3rd one, you're starting and everything changed, and it's so weird. So yeah, that was an amazing surprise, like 2 amazing surprises, and that's why it's my favorite one, because the ending is just perfect. It's how you write a good book, like how to write a second book, a good second book, okay? Bravo, Ransom Riggs, you know how to do it. So yeah guys, that's it for today. I hope you liked this video of me talking about the books that surprised me. I plan on doing a book that disappointed me, and it's going to be something, okay? Because a lot of books disappointed me, but still, this is for another time. Anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to like this video and also to subscribe to my channel, where I'm like 30 subscribers from 300 subscribers, and I can't believe it. So yeah, it's amazing. And anyway, I'm going to stop talking now, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!